we come to the last two parts of chapter 3, which deals with liquidation, of part 2, which is corporate persons. We come to section 52 and 53. 53 is perhaps the most important section, which speaks about distribution of assets, and 54 speaks about dissolution of the corporate debtor. These are the three sections we'll cover here. Now, secured creditor in liquidation proceedings. A secured creditor in a liquidation proceeding has two options. He can either relinquish his interest or he can enforce his security interest. I am a bank, I have a security of a property. I can either say, look, I'll put it into the pool, I'll come into the distribution at 53, or he'll say, no, I will recover this myself. So, where a secured creditor realizes the security interest, he shall inform the secured creditor and identify the asset subject to which the security interest is to be realized. Before it is realized, the security liquidator shall verify the security interest and permit the secured creditors to only realize such security interest, the records of which are proved by an information utility or by such other means. Because our secured creditor should not realize some other asset for which he doesn't have a valid security interest. Correct?
Okay.
A secured creditor may enforce, realize, settle, compromise or deal with the secured assets in accordance with the law as applicable and apply the proceeds to recover the debts due to it. Logical. If in the course of realizing a secured asset, the secured creditor faces any resistance from the corporate debtor, he may make an application to the adjudicating authority to facilitate the process. Obviously. The adjudicating authority on application will pass an order to permit a secured creditor to realize the security interest. Now, once I realize the security interest, I have more money. I sold a property for 50 crores. My loan is only 45 crores. So, I have to account for the surplus and tender the surplus to the corporate, to the liquidator, which is the 5 crores. There's another option. I sold for only 40 crores, whereas my debt is 45 crores. So, I still have a shortfall of 5 crores, for which I will come back into 53 to come into the waterfall where I can claim the balance from the estate. So, somebody can't say, oh, you've taken your property and walked away. My debt is real. So, it cannot disenfranchise me from what is my debt as a financial creditor, as a secured creditor. So, that's what it says. Where the enforcement is in excess, he shall account and tender the surplus. The amount of insolvency resolution process cost due from the secured creditors shall be deducted from the proceeds of the realization. Where the proceeds are not adequate to repay the debts owed to the secured creditor, the unpaid debts of such secured creditors shall be in accordance with 53(1)(e) waterfall. So, what does this section broadly say? It says a secured creditor has two options, realize or relinquish. If he chooses to realize, he shall intimate the liquidator that he is going to realize. There again, please remember the regulations speak of a little more, which we will refer back later. Once he tells the liquidator will want him to prove that he has the security interest either with reference to an information utility or through some other manner. A secured creditor can enforce, realize, settle, compromise or deal with the secured assets in accordance with such law as applicable. If he faces any resistance, he can apply to NCLT. NCLT will pass orders requiring the corporate debtor to cooperate. And there are two circumstances which can happen. Either I've got, in fact 3, I'm able to exactly recover my debt, or I recover an excess, in which case I shall account and tender the surplus, or I recover a deficit, in which case I go back into the priority under section 53(1)(e), where I am rated on par with garment dues. Now, with this we close this part on the security interest, secured creditor realization. Of course, there's some more in the regulation which speaks about a 21-day notice on how to maximize price realizations. and how the liquidator will actually place a check on whether the secured creditor is realizing maximum value. The next is distribution of assets. Section 53 speaks about the distribution of assets. 1 has segments up to H, which indicate the priority of payment of debts, and notwithstanding anything to the contrary contained in any other law. There are several laws which will say my debt is first priority. It's not. For the time being in force, the proceeds from the sale of the liquidation of assets shall be distributed in the following order of priority and within such period and in such manner as may be prescribed, namely: first, IRP cost and liquidation cost. Second, ranking equally workman's dues 24 months liquidation commencement date and debts due to a secured creditor who has relinquished his security interest. 3. Wages and unpaid dues owing to employees 12 months liquidation commencement date. 4. Financial debts to unsecured creditors. 5. Any amount due to central government, state government, including the amount to be received on account of the Consolidated Fund of India and Consolidated Fund of a state, if any, in respect of the whole or any part of the period 2 years preceding the liquidation commencement date, and debts owed to a secured creditor following enforcement of security interest. Correct? What was that? You remember in the previous section 52.9 we said if there is a shortfall, he will come under 53.1e. I hope you are having a copy of the regulation with you when I am doing this lecture. So 53.1e says debts owing to secured creditor, any remaining debts and dues, preference shareholder, equity shareholder. Any contractual arrangements between recipients under subsection 1 with equal ranking, if disrupting the order of priority, shall be disregarded by the liquidator. Fees payable shall be deducted proportionately from the proceeds payable to each class, and the proceeds to the relevant recipient shall be distributed after such reduction. For the purpose of this section, it is hereby clarified that at each stage of the distribution, in respect of a class of recipients that rank equally, each of the debts will either be paid in full or will be paid in equal proportion. And if the proceeds are insufficient to meet the debts in full, the term workman's dues will have the same meaning as Companies Act. This last part alone, I will come back for the last 2 minutes. After all this is done and the distribution is done, where the assets have been completely liquidated, the liquidator shall make an application to the adjudicating authority for the dissolution of the corporate debtor. Shall on application order that the corporate debtor shall be dissolved. This is a dissolution order. Okay? And it shall be forwarded to the authority with whom the corporate debtor is registered within 7 days. Only then they will strike off, they'll take off the name. Right? It will just complete the process. So, this is on the dissolution part. Now, let me give you a real illustration. Let's assume I have realized 10 crores. First, who will get paid? Insolvency process cost, 1 crore gone. And liquidator's fees, another 50 lakhs. So, 1.5 crores gone. So, 10 minus 1.5, I have 8.5. Now, if my secured creditors and my workman's dues are more than 8.5, then I will apportion this 8.5 in the same ratio of these two. So, like that, at each stage the waterfall will come down. There are enough number of Googles that you can search for and have a look at this tabulation. But what is most important is this waterfall that you have to remember, and that's about it. And please remember that in liquidation, you have to submit, okay, within 7 days the order to the registering authority, whereas in voluntary liquidation it will give you 14 days. Just thought it's relevant to mention here, so I mentioned it to you for the sake of a comparison. With this, we've concluded Chapter 3, Part 2 of the code, which deals with corporate insolvency process, resolution process and liquidation. This is Chapter 3 is on liquidation. Thank you very much.